Welcome back, one and all, to Trails to Azure. I'm the TheDarkSeraph. Last time, doing more questy type stuff. Is there anything I can turn in, out of curiosity? Not right this second. A little later. This time around, we're gonna... First of all, I'm gonna go to the West Crossbell Highway. And yes, I am going to walk it, much to Wazi's and Noel's dismay. Because I'm going to go looking for the monster. I figured out how to how to copy-paste in my new editing software. It's just different from how it worked in Azure Media. So I should be better about remembering to put in the speed-up music. I mean, I will be better, but I should be better about it. What does that lead to? It's worth taking a look at. This might be that road that's closed off. It is. So I'm guessing that's something that'll come up much later, or a little later. He rubbed his temple to ease his growing headache. Not that doing so eased it even a little, but old habits were dodged to perform as they would again and again. He grumbled to himself, "What do I do?" There it is. Shiny Bomb! Look at all that stuff that I got. Well, let's kill it. Okay, that's fucking annoying. That was annoying. That was very annoying. Rebel. Will a rebel yell? Randy and Wazi. Last rebellion. I guess I can go see if that hot pot, if that broth is ready, because it has to simmer for 48 fucking hours. Though it'll probably be tomorrow. At least tomorrow in-game time, not necessarily tomorrow as in tomorrow's episode. Before I do anything, I'm gonna go take a nap. Is it gonna let me give Kia her teddy bear now? It better. There we go. Big old teddy bear. Hello, cop. Move level 1. Hold up. What's the kid doing here? Oh, it's you guys. Scared me. I thought you were Momo for a second. Ryu, this is part of the SSS building. You can't just slip in here like you own the place. Come on, Lloyd. Sharing is caring. Now do your pal Ryu a solid and keep quiet about where I'm hiding, okay? Don't be a narc. I'm a cop, kid. Being a narc is literally my job. I kind of wish I could tell her. And it's kind of a cute moment. And no, I guess not. Oh, hello, Bracers. We're taking a little breather and doing some prep work before we get back to investigating the cryptids. The plan is to check out the sandbar on Ursula Road where you exterminated that one yesterday. We're hoping to find some sort of link between the cryptids and that pleroma grass your report mentioned. Oh, and Arios is back to work, just so you know. He'll be handling the last cryptid that was assigned to the guild. By himself? Anything we can do to lend a hand? I think we have it under control. Although, I could use some hugs and kisses from Tio to perk me up in case we run into any more trouble. You will survive! So cruel. I'd be more concerned for her if she didn't act that way. In other words, there's nothing to worry about. We can take care of ourselves. You guys just keep doing what you're doing on your end. I like how Lynn here, or excuse me, Aeolia here treats Tio like a child. I mean, Tio is a child. She's, what, 15 at this point? Yeah, that Master Fisherwoman is still here. Okay, I can't take a duel from you. Maybe at that one by Ursula? I'll try there. Go find my favorite game fish and add them to your notebook. Fuck that guy then. Here we go. Excuse me, you put in a request for the SSS? Hello there. I can tell you're glad. I can't tell you how glad I am that you're here. Thank you so much for coming. Can you tell us what happened since yesterday? I understand that there was a new development. That's correct. I fear the situation is more dire than we originally thought. I'd like to discuss it with you in depth. Okay. Let's do it. Yesterday I went to the Ash Tree Inn in another attempt to persuade Derek. I told him that this Minnith character was far too suspicious and that we had to break ties with him. You didn't beat around the bush then. Not for a second, but in the end, Derek still refused to listen. However, I did learn something new. So I hurried here to discuss it with Mr. Hayworth. Has Minnith taken some sort of action? What Chief Toto told me caught me off guard, if I may be frank. Minnith's grip on the village is far tighter than we had given him credit for. Would you mind elaborating? For what we learned yesterday, several villagers already trust him. Has it gone any further? Well, you see, Minnith has not only secured the private property on Old Aromica Road, but also the deeds to numerous plots and fields in the village itself. What? How did he do that? The old private property, probably just bought it off whoever owned it, sure, but the farmland? You kind of need that to have a honey business. For what we know, Minnith pitched a plan to increase Aromica's lotus production, as he puts it. By slowly accumulating deeds to the villagers' farmland, he could expand the lotus fields and streamline their harvest. Moreover, management of the plots themselves would be contracted to the Quincy Company to reduce the required labor. That does line up with what we heard yesterday. At first blush, it sounds like a pretty good deal for the villagers. Too good to be true. As long as those deeds are in Minnith's hands, he can abuse the land in any way he wants. There'd be no coming back from that. Indeed, the man cannot be trusted. Had he solely focused on that private property of ours, even in the worst case scenario, wouldn't be too terrible. Yeah, it's just an old storage shack. You could build a small production facility there. But now that he's using plots of land within the village, the results could be catastrophic. You guys might be shit out of luck when it comes to breaking that contract. That's where you come in. If we can expose him, then perhaps the contract can be voided. I know there's nothing criminal happening on the surface here, but even still, can we ask you to look into this? Yes. It's not as though we have any smoking guns to look into. In that case, why not ask Ian for assistance? Ian Grimwood. Granted, we only worked off our suspicions at the moment, but if you can explain the situation to him, he may be able to find a trace something of illicit. Even a shred of evidence against Minnith would be a good starting point. I should warn you though, Ian's been incredibly busy ever since the mayor advocated for independence. There's no guarantee he'll be able to see you. I believe he's over on West Street. Oh, Mr. Grimwood. We were afraid we may have caught you at a bad time. Ah yes, I was just in the middle of taking a much-needed break. But it would seem you're in desperate need for my counsel. Is it that obvious? I've seen those looks on your faces coming through my doors countless times now. Please take a seat. That's quite a predicament the village found itself in. A case such as this would typically be top priority. But as you know, I've been busy this past week drafting up preliminary constitution for the mayor. I apologize, but I won't have the time to handle this case personally. That's unfortunate, we do understand. But we suspected that would be the case. Still, even just a consultation would be helpful. Very well, I'll give you the advice while you're here. Do you have any insight on this? At this point, there's no evidence of Minnith engaging in any unlawful activity, at least as far as we can tell. Is there something we're missing? I have no idea. I do have one idea. Already? An Erebonian contact of mine once provided me with some reference material for a very similar case, though I can't say the circumstances are an exact match. I can hardly refuse you all. From what I recall, several years ago, a man visited an estate of an Erebonian baron. I know this story. He introduced himself as Renter, an enterprising businessman working for a famous brewing company. Renter presented the baron with an opportunity to become rich beyond his wildest dreams, and quickly at that. He proposed that the baron's barley fields, which had been passed down the family for generations, be used to establish a brewery. The facilities would be constructed on the baronry of his and his family would be responsible for managing them. That was the idea, anyway. What you're telling us is awfully reminiscent of what's going down in Aromica. The baron accepted the deal and signed Renter's contract. Then, under the pretense of constructing the brewery, the fields and a portion of the baron's land were temporarily transferred to Renter. Moreover, the baron converted his assets into capital for the sake of getting the business off the ground. However, Renter soon disappeared with both the deed and the capital, never to be seen again. The hell? The baron and his family panicked after suddenly losing contact with him. At that time, they had no idea of the gravity of what was about to unfold. To their shock and surprise, they learned Renter had sold the deed to a third party. The land was repurposed into a villa resort. Today, it stands part of a suburb instead. Yes, that is the Capua Baronry. In the end, the baron's family racked up a substantial debt. Before long, they had lost their entire territory. With that, the family was stripped of their rank and they vanished without a trace. That's one hell of a story. The man conned them into giving up their property and sold it under their noses. Your investigation immediately reminded me of the case. One person lies to earn another one's trust before running off with a large fortune. It's a common strategy in committing fraud. If this case is the same, then Minnith may not be with the Quincy Company. He would simply be a con man trying to swindle Aromico for all they're worth. Precisely. I can't say for certain that's the case here, but I'm concerned it might be. If it's a shame, we'll find all the evidence we need at the IBC. I may be able to help with that. Let's stop by my grandfather's home, the McDowell estate. There should be a brochure about the Quincy Company there. Ooh. It's because I happen to enjoy making sweets. I once took an interest in the Quincy Company, so I ordered one of their brochures. Last I recall, it was on the shelf in my old bedroom. Then again, I doubt a simple brochure would have all the information we need. Well, it's something. So to the McDowell estate, then IBC. Back to residential. This looks like a study. As the leader in confectionery manufacturing, the Quincy Company strives tirelessly toward its next innovation. The brochure aims to briefly introduce the methods and creeds that drive their passion. We believe the key aspect of confectionery is the taste. Otherwise, how could anyone enjoy it? With this belief as a core tenet, the Quincy Company refuses to compromise on the quality of its products. Our factories are fitted with the latest equipment and operated with the utmost attention to hygiene. That was... I don't know if it's the font or if my eyes are failing. Here at the Quincy Company, we are particular not just about the quality of our ingredients, but where they are sourced as well. Our product development pipeline, too, is run with the strictest of standards. Prototypes are personally sampled by executives who, after many meetings, decide whether a product is ready to go to market. Only then can they reach the production line. This has been the Quincy Company tradition since its founding, such that we may deliver our valuable customers nothing less than the finest confectionaries. It is a commitment to excellence that has made the Quincy Company the exceptional confectioner it is today. I'm not sure what we were expecting. It's just all your typical corporate doublespeak. Did anybody manage to find a contradiction between this and something Minnith has said? Not in particular. Maybe coming here for this brochure was a waste of time. Actually, I did notice something. You did? If you remember what Minnith told us at the hotel yesterday, the answer is obvious. It was only a passing remark, but it still comes to a major conflict with what's written in the brochure. Enough to prove that he isn't, in fact, an employee of Quincy. If I'm being honest, it's annoying that you're the only one who's figured it out. So you want to give the rest of us a chance and save it for when we interrogate him. Not to mention, I don't appreciate you stealing the spotlight with your detective mode, as Randy put it. Why do I get the feeling that the second comment was the real reason she doesn't want me to share? If you two insist, instead I want you all to consider what we've learned so far. I'll summarize the main points of the brochure in the detective notebook. All that's left is to visit the IBC. Let's see what we can find out there. Well, I certainly missed it. Probably has to do with the quality. Hello again, SSS. What can I do for you today? I can help, but you'll have to settle for me simply telling you what I can pull up on my terminal here on screen. That's more than enough. Minnith, Aromacan Honey Company, subsidiary Quincy Company. There we are. We do indeed have an account under that name. Hold on. I don't have the authority to tell you the exact balance on record, but I will say that the Aromacan Honey Company has more than the minimum deposit in its account. Basically, corporate accounts require an initial sum of capital to open. In this case, the base amount is all there. From what you've told me, that would leave tens of thousands of Mira unaccounted for. Minnith has the construction of the factory management of the fields and more to cover. It is simply impossible for any minimum deposit to be capable of financing all of it, that much is clear. And despite him holding the titles to the land and signing several deals, the balance hasn't changed. It's suspicious to say. By which I mean, this account appears to have been made for the sole purpose of gaining Derek's trust. Things weren't adding up here, in more ways than one. This is just the kind of evidence we needed. We appreciate your cooperation. Back to the Hayworths. So he's a fraudster. I guess a shyster is what they call it. Which is just a shithead. A con man. It's often used as an anti-Semitic slur, though it's not exclusive to the Jewish people, so that's something I always find strange. Like, anyone can be a shithead. It's the SSS. There you are. Mr. Grimwood, I'm glad you could make it. Did you get back yourself, Mr. Hayworth? Yes, I finished with my business associates about the matter at hand. How did things go on your end? We're able to round up a few leads thanks to Mr. Grimwood. How about you, Mr. Hayworth? I did the same, in a manner of speaking. You see, I'm not quite sure what to make of it all. Well, you went through the trouble of digging up that info, so you may as well share with the rest of the class. Agreed, the information may be beneficial to our investigation. I suppose you're right. I asked my business associates if the name Minnith rang any bells, never heard of it myself. What they told me is that he's been making inquiries into certain marketing since his arrival in Crossbell. What market would that be? Land prices in various locations throughout Crossbell. It's probably this same fucking shyster that screwed the Capuas. Sounds more like a real estate agent at this point. Why would a Quincy Company employee even need that kind of information? The answer to that might just be instrumental in helping us figure out Minnith's true objective here. You think so? It's certainly something worth considering. Incidentally, I may have discovered something else of note since our last song. None of there. Harold, Chief Tulta, could I ask you to find me something in my office? Well, it isn't substantial enough to prove anything in of itself, but we may be able to use it as a final nail in the coffin once you've pinned Minnith down. You really got something like that up your sleeve, Grizzly Grim? Precisely. Possibly. But we may not make it in time, so please do wait for us. You want to get to Aromica Village as quickly as possible. If Minnith is the criminal here we think he is, then his plan could very well be in the final stages. I'm confident, however, that the evidence you have on hand will be enough for you to solve this case. This has got to be that same crook that scammed the Capuas. You again. Special support section. Derek, Minnith, we have a few things we'd like to ask you about. What kind of arrangements were you hoping to conduct today? Meddling in my affairs on my father's behalf again, are you? Please, Derek, there's no harm in answering their questions. After all, our plan has already set into motion. And what do you mean by that? Right before you all arrived, Derek and I finished signing the requisite paperwork. In doing so, we arranged to expand the operations of the lotus fields lent to me by the villagers. The Quincy Company will take over the management of the fields. What? You signed away the rights to almost all of the village's agriculture. Is this really what you want, Derek? What are you talking about? Nothing has changed. I'm only transferring management of the fields to him. Yes, of course. It's quite simple, really. With my company harvesting the honey, we'll be able to streamline the production of the candy. A temporary transfer of land rights to my company is a necessary first step to facilitate the process. He's a fucking crook. Crafty bastard. His scheme has reached its final phase, which means... Now then, Derek, I'll be delivering this contract to our main office. We'll be in touch come tomorrow. Look forward to good news. Before you go, Minnith, I have a few more questions. Oh? What might that be? For starters, are you aware of the allegations levied against you? The primary of which, of course, is suspicion of fraud. What? That's absurd. How dare you insult him like that? Now, Derek, calm yourself. Special support section, was it? What could possibly make you suspect me of being a common criminal? Surely you have a manner of proof to your claim. That we do. Why don't you tell me about it then? But first, let me remind you that I am an Imperial citizen. Yup, that's the same motherfucker. If it turns out your allegations are indeed entirely baseless, I will do what I must to right that indignity, police officers though you may be. Yeah, whatever, buddy. Lloyd, I'll handle this. Based on our investigation, there's no doubt in my mind he's guilty. I'm going to expose him for the fraud he is. How very glib. Is that how you want to play this? Then go ahead. I'll answer anything you like. What's your first question? About your actions in Crossbell. There's a contradiction between what you've said and what you've done. Could you please recount your actions for me? Contradiction? Well, since arriving in Crossbell, I've been cooperating with Derek to advance our plans. Said plan will result in formation of the Aromac and Honey Company, a subsidiary of the Quincy Company. It will specialize in producing candy made from Aromaca's high-quality honey. Combined with my company's, Occam is a surefire success. The venture has already been approved by the city and is about to be prepared to launch. What's so contradictory about that? Well, this plan is more like a charade from where I'm standing. Our investigation has uncovered a key discrepancy in what you said. You see, Minnith? The potential of profitability. You say your plan is a surefire success, but despite that claim, there's almost no chance of this business turning a profit. That's an interesting, albeit rude, angle. What gives you that idea? That is, what evidence can you have to support that? We noticed an inconsistency when investigating the IBC. That's right. This plan of yours hasn't made any progress at all, has it? The IBC, what are you talking about? Consider this, if the Quincy Company truly did intend to go through with this in Crossbell, it would need a loan from the IBC to fund the construction and development of the subsidiary. Of course, I registered the company from the city and opened a corporate account. But that's as far as you went. The account of the Aromac and Honey Company contained no more than the bare minimum balance required to open it. While we weren't told the exact amount, I would speculate it's only a few tens of thousands of mira. Just how are you planning to build a factory and run a business with so little capital? You looked into my account? This can't be true. Please don't misunderstand, Derek. I never said there was any credence to their claims. I'm merely commenting on the audacity it takes to do something so invasive. Forget that. Explain why there's hardly any money in the account. Being an executive of the company, I must be especially judicious when moving money around. As such, I cannot take a loan on behalf of the Quincy Company. Of course, I will secure one from the IBC once I've received permission from the main office. That makes sense. Adept evasion. Don't count it just yet. I can tell Minnith is getting frustrated. If we continue to press him and pile on the evidence, we'll get him to crack. That look on your face tells me you have something more to ask. It just so happens that I do. That is far from our only point of contradiction about you. You're still not satisfied? Next, I'd like to ask about you, Minnith. You say you're an executive of the Quincy Company, but is that true? What are you implying? Are you trying to say that Minnith isn't associated with Quincy at all? That's what our evidence points to. Yeah, because of the land prices. Those articles can be easily forged. Regardless, we have evidence that would suspect evidence to the otherwise. We found in the official Quincy Company brochure. Informational brochure? Oh yeah, the one that Madame Monzelli had. We recorded the main points to the detective notebook. The brochure comes directly from the Quincy's corporate office, so there's no doubt of its authenticity. What's more, there's a clear discrepancy between its contents and what you told us yesterday. Something that you mentioned made it clear to us that you aren't the executive you claim to be. You don't like sweets. Allow me to quote a statement you made yesterday. Despite working for the company, I have never been one for sweets. Do you deny this fact? Lloyd, how exactly is that relevant? That's right, I don't care for sweets. Yeah, why would you work for a candy company if you don't like sweets? What of it? Are you trying to say that someone who dislikes sweets couldn't possibly work for a confectionery company? I mean, yeah, if you don't like candy, why would you work for a candy company? A confectionery company in general, maybe, but not this one in particular. What are you talking about? Who do you work for? The confectionery police department? This is what is written in the brochure. Prototypes are personally sampled by our executives, who, after many meetings, decide whether a product is worthy to go to market. Isn't that curious? What does that mean? Wait! It doesn't make sense that somebody like Minnith, who dislikes sweets, would be hired by a company like Quincy, not with a tradition like that. Wouldn't you agree? No, I mean, I never said I hated sweets. That's not going to work on us. You admitted to not liking them in this very conversation. How stupid do you think I am? So that raises the company. Why would you lie about being an executive of the Quincy company? It's simple. You intended to gain Derek's trust before ripping him off. This is the only deduction I can make based on the evidence. As for the confectioner seeking to make use of Aromachus honey, the Quincy company was merely a name with weight to it, one that Minnith threw around as a show of credibility. What's the meaning of this? You tricked me? Derek, don't allow yourself to be deceived by these scoundrels. What did you call us? I mean, think about it for a second. Let's say the argument's sake that I did come to Aromachus Village for the purpose of founding a fraudulent honey company. If that were the case, I had an ulterior motive in deceiving my very good new friend Derek. Then what is it? Why would I go to such ridiculous lengths? Land prices? If you have no proof to back your claims, then you have no right to call me a fraud. You should arrest yourselves for slander. Slander is not a jail crime. That's something you go to civil court over. We do bear the burden of proof as well as providing verifiable motive. As far as your motive goes, I've got a pretty good idea. What? You sure, Lloyd? Yep. Yes, I do. Land rights. Obtaining the land rights to Aromachus Village, because this is the same shyster, the same shithead who fucked over the Capuas. As a trader, you named Harold Hayworth gave us some information about you. Immediately after arriving at Crossbell, you, Minnith, started looking into land prices throughout the state. If you were employed by the Quincy Company in search of a new business ventures, this would make no sense, unless you're trying to purchase land. So why do it? I can only think of one possibility. Seizing the land was your aim from the very start. Of all the outrageous schemes, there's more to it. Aromachus Village is surrounded by scenic beauty, making it a high-value location. Suppose the deeds were to be sold to a third party as real estate for a villa resort. How much money do you think that would go for? Land like this, I would estimate somewhere in the tens of millions. That said, I don't think the villagers would ever agree to such an arrangement. Exactly. That's what made this whole fraudulent ruse, painstaking as it was, a necessity. Now, if I assume your motive was to obtain the land itself, your actions have become far more clear. First, you obtain the rights to the lotus fields, the farmland, and the village's private property. Then, under the pretext of returning to your company's main office, you vanish from Crossbell entirely. Finally, you sell the deeds on the black market and pocket the hefty sum of money they're worth. That, Minnith, has been your plan this whole time. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Lloyd! The Hayworths, Tolta, Derek, and a kid. Father, Mr. Hayworth. Aren't you from Mr. Grimwood's office? I'm his assistant, Pete. He would have come himself, but he had to go back to drafting the Constitution. That he did. Ian said this would prove to be useful insurance. You're all going to want to look at this. That's Renter. A report from Mr. Grimwood knew the Empire gave him this a long time ago. He said the name of this photo isn't Minnith, it's Renter. Renter. I remember. The name of the man who sold the Erebonian Baron's land and Mr. Grimwood told us about. Damn it! That guy. That's right, I asked Ian about it again. He said there's no mistaking it. Well, this is a plot twist I wasn't expecting. Lloyd, why don't you do Minnith the honors? Tell him the only thing this photo could mean. With pleasure. I get justice for the Capuas. The real reason this man before us, Minnith, and the real man in the photo, Renter, look identical, is that they are the same person. And it's because they're the same person. Same motive. You're a crook, Minnith. As such, you'll be charged with attempted fraud. That is, of course, on top of the fraud you previously committed in Erebonia. I can only guess how many skeletons we'll find in your closet once we get done with you. I would very much like you all to hear the details in the department's interrogation room. Damn you! I am a professional. My work must be flawless. You meddlesome brats! Don't get too full of yourselves just yet. You may have won this time, but I won't be apprehended so easily. Go ahead, my lovely beasts. Ah, great. Military monsters. Red Constellation. Let's get in the car and pursue him. Get in the car and chase his ass down! Don't be hard on yourself. You're not the one who's guilty. Wrong. It's my fault completely. No two ways about it. I was desperate to fix and reform Aromica that I ignored my father and almost drove it into the ground. I have no right to become the next village chief. That is where you're wrong. I've been so stuck in the old ways that I never tried to hear your proposals for what they were. I've known the village will go under if we maintain our current course, and yet I've done nothing. It is my inaction that drove you to do this. Thus, I must bear large scale of the responsibility for letting it happen. Thanks to this crisis, I finally realized where I went wrong. The welfare of this village cannot hinge entirely on the ideology of a single stubborn old man. So instead, Derek, I would ask that you provide me your input as well. We each contribute our ideas and discuss them with the villagers. That is the only way we can ensure the future of Aromica. Put a sock in it, Wazzy. Learn how to read a room. I'm really sorry about him. I swear, I've tried everything. At any rate, we owe you an enormous debt. Allow me to express my thanks once more. Well, it seems like we put a stop to his crooked scheme, if nothing else. But I'd like to point something out. My car is right fucking here. We could have chased after him. Just saying. Just saying. I'm going to end this one here. Thank you all for watching. Join me next time on Trails to Azure as I go do more police work. I'm the TheDarkSeraph signing off.